Today I'm going to tell you why someone might struggle to say their own name after a stroke or brain injury, but then still say shit clear as day if they're upset. My name's Bree. I'm a speech therapist with over 10 years of experience working with people with aphasia, and I often get messages that look like this. People want to know why sometimes the only words that come out are cuss words. So let's talk about that today. I'm also going to make a free summary as a download if you want to have that on hand to explain to family and friends what's going on. Be sure to check down in the description for the link below. Ready-made chunks of language. Coming up with brand new sentences, which is also called propositional speech, relies really heavily on the language part of your brain. The part of your brain that is in charge of thinking of words and putting them in order and making sentences. However, formulaic expressions rely on the right side of the brain and some deeper brain structures. And because of the support from these extra areas, they can be easier to access. So what do I mean by that? These are the types of phrases that are kind of ready-made chunks. They are always together and they're stored as a whole unit. Some examples of this might be, how are you? I don't know. Instead of creating a brand new sentence from scratch, our brain just pulls out this ready-made chunk. So that's why people who have so much trouble getting out words one by one sometimes pop out like a whole phrase. They'll say, good morning, or I love you, or I don't know, I can't. This also explains why it's hard for someone with aphasia to pull out a single number, like the word 5. Their brain has to go hunt for that individual word and pull it out, and it's really hard to do that. A lot of times when people with aphasia try to say numbers, they'll kind of go under their breath, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have to sort of start that sequence from the beginning until they get to the one that they want. The brain doesn't have to dig up just one word, it follows this automatic path to get where it wants to go. If this video is helpful, please click the like button. That helps more people like you find my videos. If you have other questions, if you're like, what's up with this part of aphasia, or why do I always do this? Please send me an email. I'm sure that if you have a question, somebody else has that same question, and I would love to help answer it. Rhythm and music. Many automatic speech sequences have a natural rhythm to them. 1, 2, 3, or like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? You can kind of hear that sort of sing-songy part to these, and that relies more on motor and music parts of your brain. So again, we're not pulling from that language center, we're pulling from other parts of your brain that have been spared. They are still intact. That's why someone might be able to count to 10 or sing familiar songs or say an overlearned prayer even when they have difficulty talking. But that means that we can use that, right? Turn on some music. If there's any songs that people knew really well before their aphasia, it can help if it's sort of slower and the lyrics are really clear, but like, you know, some Beatles, Let It Be, Here Comes the Sun, things like that that you can put on and kind of sing along to sometimes really gets the words flowing. Social and emotional weight. There are some common phrases like thank you, or I love you, or oh no, that have a lot of emotional and social connection. Emotional language often stays stronger because, again, it activates different parts of the brain. It's not just that language center, it's more widespread than that. So you might hear someone with aphasia say, aw man, when they're disappointed, or they might say, oh my gosh, when they get truly surprised. And yes, this is also why cuss words come out. Cuss words, curse words, whatever you want to call them, are highly dependent on our feelings, our frustration, our fears. Anything that's tied to a really strong feeling tends to come out a little bit easier. When you stub your toe and you yell, ouch, or damn it, that's not something you're consciously thinking about. You're not like pulling that word from the language center of your brain. It's more like a reflex. It just comes on out. So even if the speech system is damaged, the emotion system can still send those words out loud and clear. And I also want to say that this can happen even if you never used cuss words before you had aphasia. You might have like sort of kind of subconsciously thought them and then chose not to say them. but now that filter is a little bit trickier to control. It can honestly be really embarrassing for people, but it's super common. I remember one of my clients was a nun who was very holy, very devout, did not say bad words, and you better believe one of the only words she could say after her stroke was All right, let's do a quick review of what we've talked about today. Why do some words come out easier than others? Ready-made chunks. Things that are a common phrase that we always say those words together get kind of chunked in our brain. We don't have to build them word by word. They are a ready-made phrase, and those are more resilient. Rhythm and music. Rhythm and melody engage different parts of our brain. That prosody, that rhythm can kind of pull the words along when they get stuck. And lastly, emotional and social words. Words and phrases that are tied really closely to emotion and to social experiences light up more of your brain's networks, and that makes them harder to lose. So again, you might not be able to say your own name, but when you stub your toe, you can say shit. That's aphasia for you. All right, if you'd like a summary of what we talked about today, I've made a download. You can get it at the link below. This is pay what you want. So you can put a 0 in that box and get it for free. That's cool. I want to make sure that everybody has access to these materials. If you're able, I would love it if you could leave me a tip or buy me a coffee. And if you really want to support my work and make sure I keep making new videos, you can put a 50 in that box. If you have other questions that you're like, what is up with this in aphasia? Or why do I always do this? Feel free to send me an email. I would love to answer your questions. And if you have this question, I bet somebody else does too. So maybe I can make a future video that answers your question. Let me know what you're thinking about. All right, that wraps it up for today. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you again soon.